Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's working group meeting, September 25th. We'll get started with project updates. So main thing is that we released Carpenter 1.7. This includes support for node overlay. I think this has been a long-awaited feature by many people. It's released in its alpha stage at the moment, and this is something that we will continue to develop and provide more features for. The AWS provider currently supports it, and hopefully there'll be more adoption within the community as well, within the different providers supporting it as well. So yeah, if you have any questions, I mean, I can take a few questions. If not, we can move on to RFCs.
What is supported? I guess I should read the doc, but what is supported with the alpha release or no overlay?
Yeah, so what we currently have support for is pricing updates and custom resource configurations. So this will effectively allow you to add in any resources that you believe will appear on your nodes. However, like that being said, the configuration is the end user's responsibility. Node overlay will just be a mechanism to make Karpenter aware of these custom resources that it's not able to discover.
Got it. And I guess the capacity is this additionally like if you put a negative, does it subtract from memory or subtract from CPU?
Yeah, so
Uh,
yeah, so currently it's really only makes alteration to custom
oh,
resources.
custom. Okay.
So you can
Okay.
only really add resources. You can't really change them. There's one exception for NVIDIA GPUs, since those today can have time slicing. And in that particular use case, you actually have to alter what the resource amount is going to be on the like the NVIDIA GPU
Right.
resources. Yeah. But
But
outside of
that
that, it's all additional resources that get added.
but isn't huge pages subtracted out of the memory
Uh,
normally?
yeah, we so interestingly, it's subtracted from allocatable, not capacity.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
Carpenter will and take it for huge pages specifically, since that is a well-known resource within Kubernetes. We will actually do that calculation on our end, where if you specify a huge pages, we will take the right amount of memory so that we'll be able to more accurately simulate schedule.
Got it from the allocatable. Okay. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and then the other fields are price and price adjustment. This is for any kind of savings plan, anything that would alter the price that Carpenter would look at from what the cloud provider would give us. So in the case of AWS, this would be any kind of alterations that you would have on instance type pricing when it comes to which may differ from what describe instance type offerings may provide. So these could be like savings plan, reserved instances, things of that nature would go hand in hand with this. Yet again, this doesn't actually this is just to help model uh, what the actual cost for specific offerings are, as opposed to actually giving you any kind of a discount. But yeah, everything yet again on this in these scenarios has to be done uh, by the actual end user. This resource will just effectively make Carpenter aware of that. Cool. Yeah, please give it a try. If you have any you know, feedback, we would really appreciate it. Please feel free to open an issue. And we can try to see if we can make changes to this. This is very much an alpha, so we're definitely open to making breaking changes and what else we need to do to get this into a good state. Cool. Now, RFCs, new features. So, okay, here, max. I'm assuming you put this down. I mean, at least I see that.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So I have RC for node limits per node pool. I know we've talked about before that technically you could sort of do this already, but I think I tried it once and I don't think it worked exactly how I expected it. So I put up an RC to formally support, you know, uh, putting up limits per node pool for nodes. I have put up three options we could do because I know disruption might work weirdly if you limit the number of nodes and that Carpenter can create. Option one is that you can specify hard limits where Carpenter absolutely cannot, create more nodes than the number you put in there. And this is good to guarantee that, let's say you have a block of IPs that uh, you know that are reserved for your nodes that you can't go over, um, that you're guaranteed to have that many. The option two is soft limits, and this goes into the part where disruption happens. Let's say you're at the limit of nodes and consolidation happens, and there's going to be a state where you're going to have more nodes than the limit, right? Because how Karpenter works is that it needs a new node to be schedulable and ready before deleting the old node. So in option two, we're just saying, yes, you can have that intermittent state where you have more nodes um, than the limit, but it's only for that state. Um, so it wouldn't play nice into the IP situation, but it would make it so that disruption works at the limit. And then the option three is you can maybe specify both if you want to. Yeah, that's basically the gist of my proposal. So if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free.
Yeah, I had a few kind of like basic questions I was trying to understand. So like when you say limits, are you like trying to specify specific resources? Like specific resources on these nodes or like just like a node count limit?
Just node count, nothing else.
So I guess why doesn't the use case like the static capacity like limit not just support this?
Um, well, for
Like
static capacity, you have to, it's not it's not automatically provisioned, right? Like it's like if you create a workload, it's not going to create more nodes for you in the node pool, right? Because you have to manually scale up the node pool.
yeah, but I wasn't aware. I can go back and check the RFC, but I don't think that was tied specifically to static node pools. Um, I can go and verify. I can go and verify that. But my understanding, at least with that, is that it should apply to all node pools. So if you just define nodes, like in the limit section of a node pool, saying nodes 5 or so, it will just cap it even for dynamic node pools, right?
Uh, you're saying that if you specify the replicas or the limits in the spec dot limit.
Well, so I guess to kind of iterate, so the limits that I what are the limits that are proposed in the static capacity RFC are actually just adding to the limits field in the node pool. So,
Right.
right, and so I mean, I can go and this is kind of the part where I may or may not, my understanding may be incorrect here, but like once you add in the limits, it will block any provisioning above that, whether it's for disruption or uh consolidation or like a drift.
From what I read in the code and the RC, I think you need to specify replicas as well in the node pool for the limit of node to work. I think if it's just a regular dynamic node pool, the putting a
Really?
limit wouldn't do anything. But
I'm actually really, really surprised about that. That was okay. I will go and check. If that's the case, then yeah, I guess we may need that. But Yeah, I guess that in itself is more of a hard limit than it is a soft limit. I
Right.
mean, I guess I guess what's your opinion? What's your take?
I well, I know for static capacity, like consolidate or disruption is just doesn't you're not allowed to do disruption on the static capacity. But my opinion is that I think option one makes the most sense to cover all the use cases I listed in there. And I know, I think Ellis is his name. He discussed there's a strategy somewhere, I don't know if it was internal or somewhere online where, you could change the way that Carpenter does the provisioning to terminate before launch so that, we wouldn't have to have the soft limit thing. But I don't know the status of that or that was even a discussion. So my opinion is that option one probably makes the most sense
Yeah.
um, to cover the use cases.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because I think by default, most disruption are launched before terminate, meaning in order for Carpenter to disrupt a node, except for like empty, it will attempt to launch a node to replace if that's required to reschedule the pods onto a new node. But the only exception is expiration, which is forceful, where it doesn't wait for a new node to be launched before the termination starts on the old node. So technically, it may be possible to flip it so that all the other disruption, when it's close to limit, flips over to the terminate before launch. But it has a side effect of, well, possible side effect of now you have pending pods just hanging out. And I don't know, maybe that is desirable. That's what you wanted. I guess one thing that I don't see, at least from the hard limit, is what is the expectation for these pods, right? Like, you kick them out, or things scaled up and now you need extra nodes. Do you just expect the pod to be pending? And or let's say expiration's happening or some sort of disruptions happening, a node is deleted, and now pods are hanging out. Is that also fine? It'd be worth calling out like what your expectation is around those and also the RFC.
Right. Well, for option one, I'm basically saying like if if a disruption happens, we just block it similar to like the budget disruption budget, except like it's not blocking, it's blocking like every single disruption. So like yeah, does that make sense? Like we just
Is
completely
that,
block the disruption.
but I guess I had a comment there, but like not all disruption requires new nodes. So is that
Right, right.
ideal to lock everything down?
Well, the way that I implemented it, like in my work in progress, is that it only blocks it if the simulation actually creates new nodes. So like in the case of expiration, like obviously we don't need to make any nodes, so it wouldn't block it. So only for drift and consolidation would this actually block.
Yes. Okay, okay. Yeah, I guess my comment is it's just calling out like explicitly like only disruption that create new nodes. And yeah, then I
Okay.
agree that makes a little bit more sense to me that you only log all disruption that will create a new node.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I can definitely make that more clear in the FC. Thanks, Gavin.
Cool. Okay, cool. If we have nothing else, we can move on to the next RFC. Uh, Looks like, yes, the configurable TTL.
Yeah. I think this was has been talked about a few times. I'm just trying to get it over the end. I altered in naming based on Bryce comments to match cluster autoscale calling it max no provision time, which I guess makes sense. And if it matches no autoscaler, that kind of makes sense to me. Oh, sorry, cluster autoscale. Um, so wanted to see if I can get some eyes on it to get it over the pump and get it the RFC merged, and then I'll finish the implementation and change the naming.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, we need to just, yeah. I'll see, because there was a few people that had opinions. I think they had commented a while ago, so yeah. We'll we'll try to see if we can get more people to take a look and then go from there.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, cool. Any community questions?
I have some questions, but I can wait for whoever to go first.
Sorry, I was just wondering, like, so for the to do in my case, a manual, were you gonna look at if the static capacity implementation already
Yeah,
supports what I was doing?
yeah, I just checked. It doesn't. Like for dynamic nodes,
Okay.
it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. There we did have conversation earlier, that we were going to just support it generally. And yeah, things changed. So I think your RFC is completely valid.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Is there should I get assignees on this, or we're just gonna wait for stuff to
Yeah, I
happen?
will try to see if I can bug people from our team to take a look, make comments, discuss it, and then go from there. That's
Okay,
okay.
no worries. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. Cool. Garvin, you posted this one?
Yeah, I have a small PR for some logging improvement that I want to see if we can take a look at. It's purely adding the no pool name to the error message that it prints out when it says I can find, like when a pod is unable to schedule, it goes through all the node pools and it's like, okay, can't tolerate this, doesn't match the requirements, oh, not enough resources.
Mm-hmm.
This PR is simply appending or prepending the no pool name to that JSON so that when you look at the error message, you're like, oh, it didn't tolerate the tains for this no pool. And that's it. Just to make it a little bit easier to understand what's happening.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds good. I think we can, yeah, this should be fairly straightforward. We'll get some eyes on this.
Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions?
Sorry, I have a few questions, but
Yeah.
if anyone has questions, please jump in because I don't want to take everyone's time. Yeah, this one, I have a question around like custom AMI. Right now, we drop labels, tains, user data, not user data, sorry, we drop most of those things. I see that in AL 2023, we introduced something with the EKS Bootstrap script called node and ADM,
Mhm.
which is just a YAML file that you write onto the user data. I'm wondering if we can support this, which is the custom AMI family with the ADM that also drops the same thing onto the user data, and we'll let the user deal with how they want to use that data. But the question here is like, is that fine? Like, there's nothing here that would affect any other custom other family. This is simply leveraging the existing node in ADM bootstrap like script, and it uses that to write there instead of using the base64 that translate user data directly there.
I guess, why can't you just add it into the user data?
Yeah, the problem here is that if I want to carry over label tains and kubelet configuration from no pool and no classes to a custom AMI family, it's not possible because we drop it all. If you look on the left hand side, the user data, you can see it's it's
It should be
unused to label
reconciled on
tains.
though.
Sorry?
It should be reconciled on though, right? After? Do you have to have it at launch?
I need to I need it at launch. Well, I thought we don't reconcile labels and taints anymore.
No, so what we do, so how it was beforehand was, we added in as part of the user data, and we try to reconcile those on from the node pool onto the actual like node once it's joined. Now what we do is for custom AMIs in the AWS provider, we actually still reconcile it on. We've stopped reconciling on only for AMIs that like we know for sure we are going to register with the annotation and labels. So in this case, we'll
Hmm.
definitely reconcile it on. So you don't need to, I guess we wouldn't, like it wouldn't be there for like at start. So like if you had something that required you to have those labels at as soon as the like if the node needs to register with it, yeah, you wouldn't have those, but in any case, we
Okay.
should just reconcile. Karpenter should
Let
just.
me double check. I guess maybe it's a newer version that supports this, and I'll take a look. I don't think it was supported 1.5, but I could be wrong.
I can show you. I mean, I can just actually can direct you to where the code is there.
I
Uh,
guess beyond the label and tains, the coop reserves and the system reserves, I would still need to pass through in some way.
oh, I see. But I mean, you can't set the. Yeah, again, you can't like. Why can't you just pass that with the user data at that point then?
Yeah, I guess the reason for that is because I want to reuse the same underlying AMI. But sorry, I guess at a high level, we are reusing the same AMI and oh, I see what you mean. User data. Possibly. I guess in a way, our kubelet configuration isn't generated from the user data. It's hard-coded to the underlying AMI. I guess technically I can get it to work. I guess in a way, it will be the same as using the node ADM, passing through the user data, but it's just nice to have that structure already rather than writing my own and
Yeah,
then yeah.
I guess the very nature of custom AMIs is that you're
Yes.
not guaranteed to bring that with you, and so it may not necessarily work. I mean, that's my main hesitation with this.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
that makes sense though. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like I need to have this. I'm just questioning if that's a reasonable thing to do.
yeah, I think you should. I mean, if you just add it into your user data, it'll just propagate it straight through anyway. So you can
Right.
get the same benefit there. Yeah.
Okay. Then I can take a look myself for the label reconciliation. I can figure that out. I thought I remember it wasn't working before, and I remembered
Node claim lifecycle. It should, if it's not working, there may be an issue, but it's in the node claim lifecycle during the registration flow.
got it. I can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If you can't find it, just ping me and we can go through it.
Sounds good.
Um, cool. Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, I have one more if no one else has, so sorry.
Go for it.
I just want to figure out what is now that overlays like created, I'm wondering what is needed for Nitro Enclave's support because I have this OPR that's right now that was simply exposing the flag to enable turning on Nitro Enclave when you create the EC2 instance. It had nothing that subtract the CPU memory for the enclave itself. So I'm not 100% sure if I should be using now no overlay, either telling users like, hey, if you need, you can use the overlay to subtract, but then you can't because I guess that's technically capacity. It's not actually overlay. So is this something I will have to add to overlay to be like, I'm enabling enclave. This is CPU memory. Now I have to add the logic to overlay to subtract that. Like, what is the next step here? Now the
So
overlay's out.
yeah. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong here, is when you are like generally when you want to support enclaves on EC2 instances, you have to configure a huge like a bunch of huge pages. And then you can enable it as like part of the instance launch. So in that flow, like the overlay would effectively need to specify um the huge pages
Mm.
and like the actual like the resources, the extended resources for
The CPU, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the enclave, and then
Enclave.
yeah.
Those two things, right? Once you have those two things, you should be good. But in that with that respect, you'll have to configure the huge page yourself. So like maybe add it to the user data,
Yep.
to make that configuration and then
Yep.
enable the flag. In terms of like memory, CPU memory, you shouldn't have to do any of that because like I mean, enclaves don't impact CPU, right?
I thought it takes. I could be. I'll double check. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure either.
To be fair, I think this is like these steps are complicated enough that we could probably dedicate a task page for this.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing how complicated it is, it may be worthwhile just to have that to like fully illustrate it and not, like I see that in this PR you have it all in like the node class section, just
Yep.
maybe separating it out since it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
complicated enough in its own right.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll double check on the CPU, but yeah, the huge pages, I guess, in a way is supported, but um,
if you have to take CPU, that isn't supported, so like we can
yeah,
talk more about that. But
yeah.
from my reading, you didn't have to do any like you didn't have to do that. But I guess I only looked at like setting up the guide. I didn't look at anything in like internal.
That's what I looked at too. That's why I'm not 100% sure either.
Yeah, we can dig more into
But
this.
I'll take a little more too, yeah, for sure. Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, we can go from there. Yeah, we need to support differently on overlay or something. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds great. Mm, yeah, cool. Anything else anyone wants to discuss? Cool. In that case, thanks everyone for joining. See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.